Good afternoon to you. It is a Wednesday edition of the Joel and Natalie Show, 406, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State, also live on YouTube and on Facebook. We're having the crucial conversations that Erie needs. Our Wednesday health focus today is regarding April. It's April 1st, and we're kicking off the new month with looking at Parkinson's Awareness Month. With us is Lynne Gotham. She's the Executive Director of Parkinson Partners of Northwest Pennsylvania. Lynne, welcome back. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
I tell you what, you walked in and we had a flurry of conversation here because I feel like Parkinson's is one of those diseases that is getting an extreme amount of awareness, which is kind of interesting considering that we've had a very famous celebrity with Parkinson's now for multiple decades, and that's Michael J. Fox, who's been really doing a lot of work towards getting the word out. But now it seems like there's a lot of awareness now. Talk about some of the new statistics that are flowing around.
Well, I think some of the reason that you are seeing more discussion about Parkinson's disease is, frankly, the rates are increasing, and they are increasing significantly. As I was saying before we went live, if you and I had been talking about this, 4 or 5 years ago, I would have said to you that that 9 people are diagnosed every hour in the United States with Parkinson's disease, which would have equated to about 60,000 people annually. Those numbers are now the exact opposite. We're looking at every 6 minutes somebody is diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in the United States, which equates to 90,000 people.
Wow.
And that was quite a surprising statistic. Because I think those of us that work here, like in the grassroots kind of thing, we know our numbers are going up, but it's hard to appreciate, is that actually happening across the country?
Well, and think about it this way: over a course of 10 years, that's 900,000 people, in 11 years, you're near 1 million people if they survive 11 years,
right?
Which is a great thing to say, obviously. But
well, and we expect that the number of people with Parkinson's disease will double by 2040.
Okay.
Double.
Wow.
So it's a really sobering amount of facts, but there's a lot of reasons for that. Number one, we are fortunate that the science, the technology has caught up, and we have better testing for folks who are kind of in that process of, especially those that don't present typical, like you'd look in the textbook. So those tests help to identify folks with Parkinson's or Parkinson's cousins, which are Parkinsonisms, which are things that start out looking like Parkinson's, but then the disease shifts a little bit in these folks. The symptoms are slightly different, and that kind of lends their doctor to look down a different path that, well, maybe it started out looking like Parkinson's, but it's actually something else. And so these tests help to differentiate that better for the doctors. But
could some of the rising numbers have to do with that people generally are living longer? I mean,
yes.
I mean, it just, we have, it used to be that our life expectancy was 72. It's creeping up into the 80s for many folks and so on. And so there's more opportunity to get any kind of a disease the older you live, right?
100%. So, but with Parkinson's, your biggest risk factor is just being over 60. So as simple as that at this point, from what we know. And we also know, just looking at our population, is that we have an aging population. All of those baby boomers are continually adding to those numbers every year. And here in Pennsylvania is an old state. If you look at our demographics and here across the state, That's a concern. And also, there are higher risks for Parkinson's in the Rust Belt. And obviously, Erie, Pennsylvania, and our surrounding counties certainly are part of that. In addition, there's higher risk factors in agricultural communities. So obviously, we have a great agricultural community here in this region. So you put those things together and you can see why we're concerned, and we expect to continue to see those numbers rise, not only across the country, but especially in this region.
So you're talking about there's some age factors, certainly.
Yes.
But you're also talking about environmental factors. Has any of the latest research talked about toxins or things that could lead to a positive Parkinson's diagnosis?
Yes. So there have been some pesticides that have been directly linked to Parkinson's. There are others that there seems to be a link. I am by far not a researcher. This isn't my area of expertise, so I don't want to overspeak, but I can tell you there's a great book that has come out. I'm just going to endorse just as a person,
Okay.
not as the organization.
Yeah.
But it was written by two experts in Parkinson's disease, Dr. Ray Dorsey and Dr. Michael Okun. Dr. Okun is actually the medical director of the National Parkinson's Foundation. And they've written this book called The Parkinson's Plan. And it is step-by-step going through toxins and pesticides and lots of different things that we are exposed to in our daily lives that we maybe weren't exposed to previously, and what steps people can take to start to try to avoid some of that. And I remember we had a speaker here in Erie a number of years ago, and he was already talking about, the risk of pesticides in our foods and in our environment that could definitely impact Parkinson's rates. However, I thought this was very interesting. At the time, somebody asked a question of him and said, well, does that mean we should all have organic? And he said, well, it's not that simple, because in the lab, they used an organic pesticide to best create Parkinson's for the testing they were doing. So, it would be lovely if we could just say, well, this is what it is, and we're just going to eliminate it.
Do this, don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. But unfortunately, it's just not that simple. And as he pointed out also, as a citizen of the world, pesticides are important because there are places that insect populations could literally wipe out an entire food source for different countries. So there's a lot of things that have to go into that. But I do think it's becoming more and more clear that our exposure to chemicals, toxins, and such are impacting Parkinson's rates. I don't think there's any question about that.
What about genetics? When you think about, people that are prone to hypertension, maybe obesity, maybe, diabetes, there's a lot of genetics that work against someone because their grandparents had it or something like that. Are you seeing, is there any data about that with Parkinson's?
So I can't give you actual numbers because, again, that's something that's always changing. However, there is a certain type of young onset Parkinson's. So that would be Parkinson's that is usually diagnosed. Well, it depends on who you look at. Some people think young is under 50. Some people think young is under 40. But there's some genetic exposure there that the mom had it, you may more likely have it, things like that.
For the young, for getting it young.
A certain type. Yeah, I don't want to overspeak that because the vast majority of people with Parkinson's disease do not have family members that had Parkinson's.
Okay.
That does not mean that there aren't some. I can think of two gentlemen in our that I work with who are twins, and they both have Parkinson's. So it's
their ages are
in the typical group that we would expect.
Typical group, okay.
Yeah. So it's unfortunately the science isn't always caught up to everything that we would like it to be. And again, I don't profess to be the a researcher extraordinaire.
Right.
However, you can certainly see some of that. But again, the vast majority of people kind of just shake their head and go, well, no one in my family's had Parkinson's. I didn't work for a chemical company. I didn't work for a landscaper. I didn't grow up in a farming community. How the heck did I get this? There's still a lot of people that's kind of where they end up sitting with this.
Wow. Yeah. And you don't blame them because they're wondering how, is this something that you catch? Is this something that was part of a chromosome that, went south on you or what have you, right?
And I can tell you, I've been doing this long enough now to, and also having had a dad that got Parkinson's when I was in college, I've seen so many things come down the pike of theories and different things. And it used to be two very distinct camps. There was something in your genetics, not necessarily hereditary, but something in your genetics. And then there was a camp of, no, it's got to be environmental, something that we're ingesting, breathing in, whatever. When you look at the research now, it seems like those camps are coming together. So
that it's kind of both.
Yeah, it probably, I mean, again, we don't know yet, but it seems like there's more and more science that's showing that both of those things can be a risk. So maybe it'll end up being, you have a genetic component that then is triggered by something in the environment. But
has there been anything on like smoking, drinking, drug use? I mean, anything that way that has been indicated?
In fact, it's kind of funny. So there's, so much talk about, well, is caffeine good for you?
Yeah.
Coffee's good for you. There's actually been some studies that show regular coffee drinkers have a lower risk of Parkinson's disease. But then you certainly know people who drink one coffee after the other, and they do have Parkinson's. There's been some studies talking about smoking, that maybe actually smoking isn't a risk factor for Parkinson's. But again, I've been doing this long enough to know that sometimes a study will come out and then subsequent studies will show that study to be ineffective. So, you kind of have to take things with a grain of salt. As a matter of fact, so I have a family member, my mom has Alzheimer's, and I was having a conversation with my own doctor about that. And ironically, while I was waiting for her, a new study popped up that said those that eat a lot of meat have a lower risk of Alzheimer's if you have the gene. And even she was like, my doctor was like, "Are you kidding?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, it's right here. You can read it." So you can kind of drive yourself crazy sometimes.
Well, you remember the whole Alzheimer's, don't use aluminum foil. I mean, we've been, butter is good, butter is bad. I mean, all the things,
Overall, the best thing that you can do if you have a concern about Parkinson's disease is, I think, just be smart about it. Definitely want to be careful if you are using chemicals or, maybe try to, at least with the Dirty Dozen, try to be more cautious about or using organics or, my goodness, make sure you're washing.
What are you calling the Dirty Dozen?
That's kind of like a nutrition term out there for the fruits and vegetables that are more susceptible to absorbing the pesticides. So like apples are one of them, and then we tend to eat the skin, so you're ingesting more. But
honestly, I've never heard that term.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's out there, and so I'm just a big proponent personally of we wash all our fruits
wash
and
our
vegetables,
apples, yes,
all of them. I found out that the best thing you can do is soak them in some baking soda and water, and then give them a good scrub. Yeah. So things like that, can definitely help keep yourself active, think, both in your brain and in your body.
We're talking to Lynne from the Parkinson Partners. We're going to take our first break here, 4:21. You're listening to Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show on this Health Focus Wednesday. April is Parkinson's Awareness Month, and according to Parkinson.org, when you first hear the words Parkinson's disease, things get real. With one diagnosis comes 1 million questions, and when you don't know where to turn, you can find real answers at the Parkinson's Foundation. And a lot of resources, community. Lynne Gotham is with us here. Let's talk about the assets that we have available here for Parkinson's patients and those that are concerned. First off, let's start at the top. What type of doctor is involved in treatment for Parkinson's?
So typically, there are 4 main symptoms of Parkinson's disease, which is slowness of movement, rigidity, which is a stiffness that those that have Parkinson's tell me they couldn't have imagined. It's different than arthritis and general aging. We also have postural instability, so people lose their balance. They may have a more stooped posture. So those are 3. The 4th one is the one that gets people to the doctor, and that's tremor. Tremor is a really hard thing to kind of explain away. You have to kind of look at that and think, maybe something's wrong. So often people start out with their family doctor, expressing concern about the tremor. The family doc, may do some investigation, and then the next step would be referring them to a neurologist.
Okay.
So we highly recommend that those with Parkinson's disease follow with a neurologist. We love our PCPs, our family docs. They're fantastic. But Parkinson's disease is very is a very difficult disease to treat. There's a lot of nuance. We always say if you've met one person with Parkinson's, you've met one person with Parkinson's, because it's very different from person to person. There are certainly generalities, but how a person is affected at the level that they're affected, how they're treated, how they react to medications, things like that is very unique to each person. So it really helps to have someone who has that additional expertise and is seeing this day in and day out.
Do we have an adequate number of neurologists here in Erie County, do you think?
No.
Oh. Don't hold back, Lynn.
No. Here's the thing. We're very, very fortunate that we have 3 neurology groups here in Erie, UPMC Hammett, AHN St. Vincent, and then there's a neurologist at Lynne Gotham. And folks, if they have regular general Parkinson's disease, can often be followed by a general neurologist, and that works very well. They're well trained, and that can be fine. However, as we continue to see these numbers grow for Parkinson's patients, there is another category of neurologists, and that's a movement disorder neurologist. And that is a neurologist that has an additional year of training, a fellowship, in just movement disorders. And Parkinson's is a movement disorder. It's up there with Huntington's disease and a few others. So these doctors tend to specialize, and they are not treating MS. They are not treating stroke. They are treating movement disorders. So we only have one of those in Erie. We are fortunate that AHN does have some great movement disorders that are based in Pittsburgh, who do make visits up here or take video calls. And again, nothing wrong with the doctors that we have, but there's certain patients that really benefit from being followed by a movement disorder specialist. So unfortunately, their group doesn't have anybody, though, that is 100% based in Erie. Neither does Lynne Gotham. So It is UPMC Hammett that does have the one movement disorder neurologist. So if you really need a specialized treatment, he's who you would go to, and that's Dr. Nikopoulos. And again, with UPMC Hammett. But please understand, if you're seeing a neurologist and that's working for you, what we want is for you to have your choice to work with the doctor that works best with you.
I just have a minute before the break. Is there no element of of hormones that goes into play here with MS. I'm sorry, with the Parkinson's. I thought there was some connection to endocrinology, I guess.
I'm not familiar
Okay.
with that. I can tell you that we do have more men that are being diagnosed than women. It's not unheard of course, for women to be diagnosed, but I'll give you an example. I do a wellness class. If I have 15 people in the class, a lot of times the breakdown will be 10 men, 5 women, and
Okay.
such. So just to kind of give you
Like almost a
guide.
2-to-1 kind of ratio.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's everywhere. That's
Just
a
what your
particular
experience
program
is, yeah.
that we experience. Yeah.
Wow. All right, we're talking about Parkinson's Awareness Month here on the Joel Natale Show. Very important issue. And Lynn is with us here from the Parkinson Partners. We're going to talk about some of your fundraising, some of the things you've got going on this month and through the year here. We only get a chance to talk to you a couple times a year. So stay with us. It's Talk Erie. It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. On this Wednesday, Health Focus, Parkinson's Awareness Month is April. So on this April 1st, we're talking to Lynne Gotham. She's the Executive Director of Parkinson Partners of Northwest Pennsylvania. Lynne, again, your information is just so relevant and so strong and powerful here. We appreciate you sharing with us here. Let's talk about your organization, kind of what you bring to the table and how you get it supported. So first off, you said April's kind of a big deal for you guys, right?
It is. And I will start by saying this. You know, we don't celebrate Parkinson's Awareness Month. It's a weird thing when you have a disease that's challenging like Parkinson's. Do we celebrate? People will ask me that. And if you pick up our April newsletter, you're going to find, because I do actually use this article every year because I think I hit the points the way I wanted to, which is we don't celebrate Parkinson's disease. This is not something anybody is standing in line hoping to get. However, we do celebrate those with Parkinson's who face this with, great courage and determination. And we also, acknowledge the hard work and dedication of their spouse, their family members. We thank our lucky stars that every single day there are professionals who get up every morning and head to a lab and are trying to find the cause and the cure for Parkinson's. The same is true of the medical professionals who provide the care that is needed. That is what we celebrate. We celebrate resilience and compassion and research and dedication and faith and strength. That's what we celebrate. We do not celebrate this disease, which kind of leads me into, well, then what do we do here this month? Right?
Yeah.
So we actually are doing quite a few things here in Erie. We're really thankful to be here today because that gives us an opportunity to share a little bit more about what we do. So first, just the basics of who we are. We are a grassroots organization founded here in Erie in April of 1992. 5 couples met in their neurologist's office and got to chit-chatting and realized there was nothing in Erie for people with Parkinson's disease. And when I mean nothing, I mean not even a brochure. So they went to their doctor and neurologist and said, we think we need more here. And he went to his mentor at the Cleveland Clinic and they said, well, let's do a presentation. We'll advertise it in the newspaper and we'll see who comes. And over 200 people showed up.
Are you kidding?
Mm-hmm. My parents were at that.
Wow.
So it's kind of a full circle thing for me here.
Yeah.
And that is how Parkinson Partners was born. And we have continued to stay independent while this is obviously a bigger financial push for a small organization like ours. But what we've realized is we know Erie. We know Erie Parkinson's. If we would affiliate with one of the national organizations, we would raise money, give it to them, and then they would tell us what we could do if they would even have a presence here. So we want to make sure that the folks in Erie are attended to and not forgotten and that they know they're not alone. So we offer 5 support groups every single month for those with Parkinson's. 3 of them are mixed groups for those with Parkinson's and their loved ones. And then there are 2 specific caregiver groups to really help those that are, standing and staying to help those with Parkinson's.
How tough is it to be a caregiver for a patient?
It's very tough. Thankfully, some people do really well for a really long time with Parkinson's, but there is a slowing down. There is a progression. This is not a disease that we can get to stay put. So both people in the couple are aging, but one of them is also experiencing more slowdown. And that means the other caregiver has to usually take on additional burdens, not just in caring for their loved one and managing and being an advocate for their loved one, but they're also perhaps managing more in the home and the bills and the just taking care of things. So it can be very challenging. And for those that don't find respite, for those who don't find help and relief, they actually put their own mortality in jeopardy. Caregivers actually can decrease their life expectancy without getting help. So if you have a family member who is caring for someone, albeit Parkinson's or anything else, please look out for them. Please check in on them. Give them time to go and renew their own spirit, see their own doctor, because caregiver days are typically 24 hours. So that's just my little shout out to our great caregivers. But so we have those 5 support groups. We have multiple wellness opportunities. We have a PD specific wellness class that we do in conjunction with Gannon University's physical and occupational therapy programs. We hold this at the Salvation Army on 11th in Liberty, and we are so fortunate to have students volunteer their time, and they are matched up with those with Parkinson's who are in the class. So we are able to adapt any activity in real time. If someone's having a bad day, or if this particular person actually is just hard of hearing, that student will know that and can speak louder to them. But in addition, it also gives the students a chance to see Parkinson's in the real world, not just in a medical setting, if they even get to see it at all during their training. So we've been doing this program 17 years. Wow. And we are just so blessed to have the Gannon as and the Salvation Army as our partners.
So physical therapy is that like a continuous kind of to try to stave off the symptoms of Parkinson's?
Yes. Let me tell you something. I've told you a lot of shocking numbers earlier, but let me tell you another something that's shocking, and it's shocking in a good way. The only thing that we know 100% that can slow down the progression of Parkinson's disease is exercise, is movement.
Wow.
It's a move it or lose it proposition. And so now nobody out there go and say, hey, I heard this woman on the radio and she said I have to go run a marathon. She did not say that. Don't go to your doctor and say that I did. But movement is so important. It gets the body active. It keeps the brain actually active when you exercise. Sure. And it truly is on the days that people feel, I always say, when the day you feel the crappiest, that's the day you actually need to get the movement the most. Because if it's really hard today and you don't do anything, it'll be extra hard tomorrow and the next day. So you want to keep yourself active. It doesn't have to be running that marathon. You can garden, you can walk around your house. You know, if you do household chores and you actually put some effort into it and get the body moving, that will work. You'll see lots of things out there, tango dancing, and now they're saying rock climbing, and I don't know, all kinds of things have come across my desk saying this is the exercise. But the little secret is it all works as long as you do it.
It makes me wonder if you try to do the things that you accustomed to do before you had the diagnosis, even if you're not as good as you used to be, maybe that could be a pleasure and could be kind of a positive thing for your brain activity too. We were talking about dopamine, right? I mean, right. When you get a dopamine hit, we talk about that sense of pleasure, you know.
Exactly. So for those that do not know, Parkinson's, we know, creates a lack of dopamine. That's why you have Parkinson's. You have this lack of dopamine. Now, will the research show maybe there's something else involved too? Maybe. We don't know that yet, but we do know about dopamine. So it's very, very important. And we think of it as you said, as kind of that hit of
euphoria or a jolt.
Yeah. But it also is very, very crucial for movement and fluidity of movement. And I think if you know someone with Parkinson's and you're kind of struggling to understand, you know, well, what the heck is going on with them? Dopamine helps for folks to have movement that's automatic. They don't have to think about it. Like if someone walked in here and was about to throw a water balloon at you, you duck. You don't think about it. But for someone with Parkinson's, that automatic movement becomes much more difficult. And think about it this way. You're wearing a zip up. If I brought somebody in here who had never seen a zip up before, if you had to explain to them step by step how to put that on, how you hold it, how you put your arm in, how you put your other arm in, how you adjust it, how do you zip a zipper? I mean, think about breaking down anything that you do into that many steps. Now you're starting to understand the things that people used to be able to do without thinking about it. Now they have to think about it. So it's exhausting. It's frustrating. And so, again, the more people move, we're trying to keep that automatic going. But sometimes for people to still do the things they want to do, they have to actually do all those extra steps. And so we, as family members, as community members, we need to be patient. And this is getting harder and harder in our very busy world. We expect everything now instantly.
Yeah.
And people with Parkinson's may need a moment to be able to get words out. They have plenty of things they want to say, but the effort, it just takes longer. And we are so busy then to cut them off and move on. Or it's just easier if I do it myself, so I'm not going to have you do this task if you have Parkinson's because it takes longer. So the thing that those of us who care about those people with Parkinson's is we've got to have patience. Another really hard thing to deal with is apathy, and that does come with Parkinson's. Some of it is just part of the disease itself as a symptom, but some of it is just, as I just told you, imagine that's your life now. You have to do that all the time, every day. Kind of makes it sometimes hard to be motivated to get up and do some of these things. So those are things that we talk about sometimes at support groups. It's helpful if you have Parkinson's or if you care about someone with Parkinson's to connect with others who get that. No one has to explain it. If you come in saying it's a bad Parkinson's day, you don't need to go any further. Everybody else in the room gets it. And there's a comfort in that and a peace in that. The reason that most people will not go to a support group is they are afraid to see what's ahead. So I want you all who are out there listening to listen to me very carefully. First of all, as I said earlier, Parkinson's is different in everybody. So just because your neighbor's best friend's grandma had Parkinson's does not mean that you are on the same path as that person. You all come in with your own health history, your own faith, your own personal family connections. All of that makes a difference. But also, not only is this different in everybody, but there is a lot of people kind of closing in on themselves. They don't want to be out there socially. It's harder. They may be embarrassed. And so I remind you, when you come to a support group, you're going to come in and you're afraid of that because even though you might need to connect with others. I always use the example of my dad, and he told me I could absolutely do this forever. My dad had Parkinson's and could have been one of the poster child for children doing so well with Parkinson's. He was golfing, playing tennis, albeit slower, albeit with a cart, but he was still doing these things. And then out of nowhere, he had a massive stroke. And everything changed overnight. You have two things going on in the brain. It's very, very difficult to recover from that. And he was always very nervous about coming to Parkinson's events because he was now in a wheelchair. And he used to joke that we would have to make him a t-shirt that said, "It was a stroke, not the Parkinson's, relax." And I mean, he had a good sense of humor,
right.
But he's not wrong. That is exactly what people do when they walk into the room. Mm-hmm. Their eyes find the person who they think is doing the worst, and they think, well, that's going to be me. And they go down a rabbit hole. And I want to challenge people, whether it's Parkinson's or something else, Look for the people who are doing well in the room. Why can't that be you? You don't know somebody's story. Think of my dad, have a chuckle at his idea of a t-shirt, and have faith going forward. You know, you will find your people, and people will support you. They're out there. You're not alone. And that's so important, which is why we do what we do here in Erie. Again, we're launching a ceramics class for those with Parkinson's and their families, because believe it or not, art is really good for those with Parkinson's. It taps into a different part of the brain. Also, fine motor skills can be worked on. It also just kind of lowers your blood pressure and is just fun. We're bringing back our Parkinson's dance program. So if you like to dance, we've got that coming up in May. We are very close to hopefully being able to start a forest bathing program. Don't worry, we are not taking a bath in the woods. Forest bathing is a walk out in nature where you do it quietly, kind of expose yourself to, the breeze, the sounds, the touch of the leaves, things like that. And it's really good for those with Parkinson's as well. So we're launching all three of those things in the next few months. And we have a big summer picnic so people can come and just casually join in. We've got a big educational opportunity in October where we'll have doctors come in and present, and hopefully we'll be able to do that both in person and live streaming. It'll also be recorded. So, if you're in Erie and you have Parkinson's, know that there's an active, vital, vibrant community just waiting for you to connect with us. We also put out a monthly newsletter. Sometimes it's every other month, but we're trying to save money here. But for a lot of people, that's their connection. So please go to our website, sign up to get the newsletter. And, if you're there and you're so inclined, we run totally on donations. There is no financial support from any hospital system. There is no financial support from insurance. What we do, we need donors, and that's why we have fundraisers. So if you feel called to help support this organization, we would be most grateful.
So what are those fundraisers? What do you got coming up? Do you have the dance in the fall or something?
So we actually moved the dance to the February. So we're excited about that. That was a good move on our part.
Okay, good.
But we do obviously for Parkinson's Awareness Month, it's always a big push. Just if you want to donate, that's a great time to do it. But also in June, on June 20th, we're going to have the Dave Cooney Parkinson's Awareness Walk. The Cooney family started this walk a number of years ago. They lost Dave last year. They do this walk every other year, and this is the year. So we'll be doing this in memory of Dave, and all of the money that is raised stays here in Erie to support those folks here with Parkinson's.
I want to ask you before I let you go about the impact of tech, like screens and things. Negative, positive? What have you guys found out about that?
So I think, it depends on the context. There's some really awesome tech devices that are wearable that can help people with gait issues, just keeping track of medications and timings and things like that. Technology can be great. Here's a couple caveats that I would have. Number one, television is great, and it's also terrible because people sit.
Yeah.
We sit, and hours can go by. I mean, we're all guilty of it.
Sure.
And so if you're finding that you're so into shows, or honestly, even if you're zoning out, but sitting on the couch with the TV on, that's something you might need to examine, especially if you're dealing with Parkinson's. But honestly, let's face it, we all need to do that. So Get up and get moving. So that can be a downfall. The other thing that I will say bothers me, and this is just me dealing with our population, So many of the national organizations, especially, but even some of the medical companies have moved to everything being online. And that bugs me a lot because we're talking about people who did not grow up with technology, who's had to learn it over the years. And when you're looking at that, and you're also, the technology keeps changing, it's hard to keep up. And you're also sick and you're older. And we're expecting people who are vulnerable populations to go, and no one will give them a brochure. They have to go online and download it. Are you kidding me? You have to do everything online. You can't talk to a person. No. That is why, while we're small, and I'm the only person here, that's why we do a paper newsletter. It costs us quite a bit on our budget, but we do that because that's what people want. They want to have a piece of paper they can stick to the refrigerator to help them remember when the next event is. Or, hey, I wanted to share that article with my spouse. They don't have to try to figure out. They might not even own a printer, let alone a computer. So that's why we do that. That is why when you call, I answer the phone. You want to ask me some questions about, I don't know what to do. I'm newly diagnosed. I'm really scared. I'm troubled. How do I find more information? You're going to get me. You don't have to press 1. You don't have to press 2. You don't have to, be sent to a website. We have a website. You're welcome to use
give
it,
that out. If you would.
Which is ParkinsonPartners.org. So that's Parkinson singular, partners plural. But our phone number is 814-899-3030.
Lynne, it's been a joy to have you here to kick off Parkinson's Awareness Month. And again, we're celebrating the caregivers. We're celebrating the courageous folks that are walking every day with the disease, and we're celebrating you for all the wonderful hope that you bring to people throughout this region.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
All righty. I'm so glad that you're here. It is 4 minutes in front of 5 o'clock.